Hello, welcome to this episode of Let's Talk Death. I'm Fran Solomon.
And I'm Andy McNeil.
And we're thrilled to be your hosts for these conversations. Let's Talk Death is brought to you by Heal Grief, a social support network creating community after someone has died. Everything we do is inspired by our core belief that no one should ever grieve alone.
Our goal with this program is to have a friendly chat with some amazing people so we can help normalize and educate our Heal Grief community. Our guests today are Heren Wolf and Joe Asteroid. Influenced by a traumatic past, Italian singer-songwriter Heren Wolf transforms his grief into grace and invites us into the depths of his consciousness with cinematic soundscapes and crooning heartfelt vocals. In 2018, Heren gained recognition from blogs like Keep Walking Music, Alternative Fruit, and Caesar Livin' Loud, and performed a choral version of his debut single, Phoenix. Heren is now building a new songs repertoire and promises new original material to be released later this year.
Based in London, Joe is a melancholic indie rock artist with glitter tears. Joe recently released her debut single, Big Balloon, followed by a music video. Joe and her band are known for their energetic performances and have played London's popular venues. The music has memorable, uplifting choruses influenced by bands such as Arctic Monkeys and The Killers, combined with the melancholic lyrics inspired by the Smiths. They use glitter as a symbolism for turning every tragedy into something beautiful. Heren, Joe, we are delighted to have you as our guests on our show.
Thank you so much for having us. It's a big honor. Thank you.
So good to be here.
Thank you. So I'd really like to dive into the journeys you both had and how it inspired your career. Heren, may I ask you first to share your personal experience and journey with grief?
Yeah, of course. So my journey with grief started maybe 4 years ago when my dad passed away very suddenly. I remember this morning he just fainted because he had a little stroke, and I was paralyzed in my bed crying because I was really afraid that he would leave us, but he didn't, and he was brought to the hospital and he was fine, and they operated him. They implanted a pacemaker, I don't know how you call it, but yeah, like something to help the heartbeat, and that was really good. They said that it was going to save him, but then at the end of the week he suddenly died because the operation didn't go well, and apparently there was like some mistake during the process, and I remember when I found out, I wasn't destroyed. I was very, very rational. And the first thing I did, I called my sister who was going to go to Africa the same day, and she was at the gate. And I literally just called her and I was like, you need to come back. And I wasn't crying. My brother was like devastated. And obviously I was devastated myself, but I remember I just like probably let everything out beforehand because I was really, really, really scared of the idea. Then when it happened, I was kind of like, okay, this is it. And I remember my cousin was like, you need to cry. You're not grieving well. You need to cry. And I was just like there. I was like, well, this is horrible, but I can't. And I know I don't have the means now to express my grief the way you would like me to. So yeah, it was really weird.
Mm. Joe, your story.
So my mum got diagnosed with cancer in 2010. So that was about 10 years ago. 2008, I think. And then, sorry about the background noise. So I was about 13 when I found out that she had cancer, and they didn't even tell us really about how long it was going to be or if she was going to make it or not or anything. We just kind of like, okay, she's got cancer and she's going to try to live with it. But then, we found out that usually people with that kind of cancer, live for about 2 to 5 years, or if it's a worse cancer, then it's about 6 months. But my mum fought it for 10 years. So she passed away 2 years ago when I was in London, and I had my siblings visiting, and we didn't really realize that it was as bad as it was, but because she's had many like flare-ups, if you can call it that, many times when she was bad, and but then about in June that month, 2 years ago, when my siblings were visiting in London, my dad called me and he said, so the doctor said it's going to be a couple of hours, and then we all had to try to get home for her, which we did when we sat with her, and that was it.
Grief is never an easy thing. And Heren, I want to touch on something you said, where others were saying you need to cry, you need to show your grief, you need to. So everybody expresses their grief in a very different way. And whether it's a death that's anticipated or a sudden death, we never know what our reaction is going to be. Did you find that you continued a very non-emotional journey, or did you find that it kind of hit you later on?
Well, I think it's been a bit of both, but predominantly the numb experience. Like I was, predominantly very numb to everything, really, and like as if that was the worst thing that could happen to me. So whenever something would happen to other people, or I would read the news, or I would watch very sad stuff, that wouldn't really hit me because I've been through hell, and I'm kind of like shielded now. So it was really interesting to see that, and I was really frustrated because I'm a really big advocate for crying, because it really helps you to release your emotions when you're feeling something. And after that, of course, like things are still there, but at least physically you do feel a sense of relief. And I really, really was angry and frustrated at the fact that I couldn't. But there were moments where talking to people really helped me to enabled me to actually release my grief. But it was mostly a very unorthodox way of grieving, and it was frustrating to read this like very paradigmatic experiences of like there are 5 stages of grief, and it's linear, and you're going to be angry, and then you're going to be sad, and then you're going to be in denial. And I'm like, well, this is too structured, like you can't put everything and everyone in this like very old-fashioned boxes, because everyone grieves differently, and it's really unfair that you put this expectation on someone to grieve in a way that it's so linear and so structured. It didn't help that. It didn't help me, but I've learned to live with just the way I was grieving, and I accepted. And I was really compassionate to other people, because sometimes I will probably catch myself being not judgmental, but like questioning the way other people were grieving. But my experience really helped me to understand that, we do grieve differently. Everyone's journey is so different.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Heren. I really, one of the things, indeed, there isn't a scripted way of grieving. It doesn't exist. The 5 stages, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote those in many years ago, and really was working with people who were dying. And of course, the stages were borrowed. A lot of us who do this work today, we describe it exactly how you just described it, that it's so individual, and it's ups and downs and ebbs and flows, and it's not any one size fits all. And that's true for coping too, not just for grief, but also how we find help for ourselves in our
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Joe, I want to ask you, how did you guys connect?
So me and Heren, we met from university, and well, we didn't really hang out, and then one lunch we were just going to this restaurant with a couple of friends, and then me and Heren started talking, and then eventually it was just us two sitting there, and we were quite awkward at first. We were like, oh, what do we talk about? And then I don't know how, but then we just started talking about what we've been through. And oh yeah, I think it was because it was quite new then that my mom died. So I think I mentioned that. And then Heren said about his dad. And then we just started talking, and we were like, yes, that's exactly how it is. And then we sat there for ages and just talked about everything. And I definitely think that's how we got such good friends.
It's amazing. You know, it's often, so many times we hear that two people might know each other, but as soon as they begin to open up about their grief journey as it pertains to a death loss, if both have experienced it, there's an immediate bonding and an immediate connection. Absolutely. Because it's only once, you know, it's only when you've actually had that experience of such a deep level of grief can you really connect and understand someone else.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your music and how grief is inspiring your writing. Joe, you want to take the lead on that one?
Yeah, sure. So I think I've been dealing with this for about 10 years before. So the whole process of dealing with mum's sickness was for 10 years. And then I've had 2 years of grief after that. But so my whole life has kind of been about this, and to like prepare myself in a way for what's going to happen, which also caused a lot of like depression and mental health problems with me from a young age. And I think from all of my experiences, I've become a certain person, and it's humbled me, as Heren said as well. And I try to take that in my music and just kind of find the melancholy in it, because everything that we are going through, every sadness and every happiness and everything that happens in our life shapes us as a person and who we are today. And I'm definitely a stronger person from everything horrible that I've been through. And I think there's something really beautiful in that. And I think that's what I'm trying to do in my music. And that's also why I'm wearing these glitter tears on stage, because it's to symbolize that, like, from every tragedy, you can get something beautiful out of it. And yeah, I think that's it, what I'm trying to get into my music, and hopefully that people hear that as well and feel that they're not alone.
Yeah, it's the shared human experience of loss and grief, trauma that we go through, and to be able to express that in your music. And I don't have to tell the two of you how powerful music is, really, in everyone I know in their life, and how we're able to connect, and to connect lyrics that someone else wrote to our own story. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Heren, how about you? Tell us about your music.
Absolutely. I think music was just like there, and it was, you know, the first thing that I was able to to use to deal with, you know, this turmoil of emotions that I had, because of course I wasn't able to I wasn't able to share my feelings the way I wanted or the way I should have. So, you know, to be able to recollect and, you know, have this very powerful tool on my side was really, really helpful. Because also, you know, sometimes we say things and, you know, we we feel things, sorry, but we're not really able to express those feelings. And I think music is so amazing for that, because it really is able to, you know, delve into this like very chaotic field of emotions that are not expressed, and, you know, it just like it brings them to the surface. And yeah, like, and you can use metaphors, and you can use, you know, like music to channels those feelings. There are so many tools that you can use, and it's so powerful because you can share your experience, but you're still very much sheltered by the musical aspect. So and it's like well received by other people as well, because sometimes when we talk about death, you know, like you were saying, it's people are a bit frightened and are a bit, you know, awkward, and they feel like that it's a taboo and we shouldn't talk about that. But as soon as you put it into music, then it immediately people react in a way that it's like more accepted, and, you know, it's okay. It's okay to talk about it, and it's okay to listen to music that is sad, because it really, really helps you to process those emotions. And it does that for me. And I've noticed that, yeah, it's really the common denominator that helps me to connect to people. And whenever I express my story, there's always someone, at least one person, who comes afterwards, after my gigs, and thank me and for doing that, because yeah, it was really meaningful for these people.
So do you think that your music and expressing yourself through your music has been a healing tool for you guys?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think instead of seeing a therapist and stuff, for me, it's been to like write in my notebook and just express exactly how I feel, because I can just edit it out if I don't like it, and just be like completely honest about my feelings. And it's like it's therapeutic music, I think, to be able to express yourself.
I agree. I agree, and I think like I found that it wasn't even the actual process of writing music that was really helping me, but the performing and talking about it and using that to connect to people and to share my experience. That was really healing for me. I remember there was this one particular gig where we were raising money for mental health, and there were many different people performing dance and showing their arts and their poetry. So it was there was a lot of art, and it was all about grief and mental health. And I remember that, although of course the topics and the themes that were shared were really, really, really painful, and, you know, they were really heavy, I was just like so empowered, and everyone in that room felt so connected to each other. And I remember that everyone was saying that there was a little piece of each other in, you know, the other person. And yeah, I thought that, you know, that was the most beautiful thing, and it was really healing. And I remember just like going back home and writing this plan, and, you know, making this promise to myself that no matter what, I would continue to share my story, because that was just, you know, the way forward to heal, you know, personally and as a community with other people.
And so many people out there are grieving themselves, and often grieving silently. Andy, you use the market, I think. Share your going in the market story.
Yeah, I you know, after my mom died, it's been about 14 years now. She too had cancer, Joe, and struggled with that. And after she died, I had to, one of the exercises I did, because people just didn't want to talk about it. People didn't talk about their losses, talk about their grief. I would walk through a grocery store or you know, department store, and every third person who passed me, I would just say to myself, that person is struggling with something. That person has had someone die. That person is grieving. Just to remind myself that, you know, I think we think that everyone else has it together, but the reality is we're all in this together. We all have this secret pain that we carry in our lives, and it's often hard to express it. I've always had a hard time. How do you articulate? How do you actually put in words what grief really is? You know, because it's more than just something in your head, and it's more than just being sad or mad. It's deeper than that. And what I love about what the two of you are talking about and what you're doing is you're creating words, but you're also creating melody, and the two together really help to give grief a language that, again, I think is a universal language that if you've been through it, you understand it and you make a connection with other people.
Yeah, for sure. And because you guys are so young, I'll share with you that studies here in the US that were done, I want to say maybe about 10 years ago, actually confirm or suggest that 1 in every 3 young adult between the age of 18 to 25 is grieving a death loss, and they're doing it silently. And since then, with all the traumatic events that we've had in our world, I suspect the numbers are even higher. So you're reaching a very, very large audience through your words, your melody, your music.
Yeah.
I think it's so scary to think that so many people are carrying this heavy weight with them, and they're not able to share them with other people because they're scared that they will be judged. I think, like, if there's one thing that is, connecting us all, it's grief and death. Like, that's for sure. Like, our lives are going to be so different from each other, but we know for sure that at some point we will experience death, whether it's our own, or whether it's our loved one, or whether, like, even if you're losing your job, if you're losing your house, if you're, there's like so many different ways in which people will grieve, and people don't often realize that. And I think the moment someone realizes that, as soon as you share that experience, you realize that you're not alone, and you're allowed to grieve and to feel the way you feel, because there are so many other people in your situation. Then we can really move forward together.
One of the things I used to do I've had a number of different support groups that I ran over the years. One of them was a mom support group for mothers who had a child die. I had one for dads who had someone die. I've done groups for people who've had spouses die, for adults who've had their parents die. And in these groups, one of the things that I like to do from time to time is ask people for the next group to bring music, and let's play music together. And I'm telling you, the look on everyone's face, they brighten up. So I will say again, I just reemphasize how many people in their pain, they put their headphones on and they just get lost in some music that touches their soul. It doesn't just speak to their mind, it touches their soul. And I think grief touches our soul as well. So somewhere, we're able to make that connection. To me, that's the beauty of art, and the beauty of music is not just connects us, but it helps to validate us and our experience.
And also, not to mention how many memories are connected to music. Like, I still listen to my mum's favorite artists, and every time I hear like one particular song, I'm like, I can just see her in the kitchen dancing. It's like, it's so amazing. And just to have a song for one person that you love is like, it's also always something to go to awaken those memories. And I think that's like super powerful, to just have that kind of connection with something, as well as like looking at photos and everything. But there's something with music, it's like eating food that you had when you were little, because you get the same kind of like memory from when you ate it when you were little. but when you listen to the song, it's like you can see exactly the person who that song is connected to. It's really cool.
Beautiful.
Great. Well, Heren and Joe, we only have a few minutes left, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to share with those who are listening to this particular episode. Quite often they want to know how they can connect with our guests, and I want to give you a chance to just share how those listening might connect with you, with your work, with your music. How might they do that?
Joe?
Well, Joe?
So where they can find us on social media and stuff.
Yeah.
Is that, okay.
Yeah.
So we have a Facebook page called Joe Asteroid, So it's Joe with an E. And we have Instagram, and we have music on Spotify and stuff. And also, if you're in London, then once the venues are opening again, then we're gonna gig loads, and hopefully we'll come to the States as well at some point.
Awesome.
But yeah, you can connect with us through following and liking and listening to our music maybe. And we're going to release so much more this year as well. We only have one song released at the moment, but it's going to be 3 more singles this year, and then more music to come as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Heren?
Well, pretty much the same. Oh, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify mainly at Heren Wolf, Heren Wolf. And yeah, I'm also going to release some new music in October, and yeah, the 3 songs the next year. So yeah, please reach out if even if you just want to talk about your experience and share your experience with me. I would just love to hear from you and just have a lovely chat. We can do that. It's really healing, I promise.
Wonderful. Guys, we want to thank you so much for being our guest here at Let's Talk Death, and for sharing your journey with your grief and the inspiration behind your music and your talent and artistry. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us. It was so lovely.
Really good.
And thank you to those joining us for this episode of Let's Talk Death. If you would like to learn more about Heal Grief, please visit us at healgrief.org. At healgrief.org, you can learn more about our programs and resources, including our national network of support for grieving young adults. It's a program called Actively Moving Forward.
Make sure to sign up on healgrief.org to receive our newsletter for links to future episodes of Let's Talk Death.
And with that, again, thank you, and we will see you next time on Let's Talk Death.